Hello and welcome! I've got a meta report for you guys coming up for the Countdown Cup. So, if you're living under a rock and you don't know what the hero bans, hero pools, heroes out of rotation, whatever we call it at this point, it's going to be Echo, Ashe, Sigma, Lucio. So that's going to be the hero pools for the Countdown Cup. Yeah, the hero pools are back for this tournament to just sort of stagger it out. It's going to be interesting to see what these hero pools result is going to be for the tournament. Obviously, first impressions is Shanghai Dragons composition that they went on to win the entire tournament playing. That's the Wrecking Ball, Diva, Tracer, Sombra, Zenyatta, Brig. That seems like the most competent comp because that's what was best last tournament, and that was not affected at all by what is being taken out of the pool in the Countdown Cup. So what is going to get taken out of the cup? Okay, so Lucio essentially removes Brawl from what can be played. Without the Lucio, you don't have that speed boost, so you can't really move around quickly. So the Brawl rush style is sort of taken out of the equation. So a lot of what we saw from the West in the Summer Showdown isn't going to be played, and I don't think we'll see any Reinhardt for that matter because Reinhardt is just a slow-moving shield if you don't have that Lucio. So for the tanks, we're taking out Sigma. That doesn't really change a whole lot. The only thing that really gets affected is these double shield compositions. So these Orisa, Sigma, we saw a little bit of that played in the Summer Showdown by sort of the Atlanta Reign and a couple of other teams. Wasn't that effective, so I wasn't expecting to see too much of that anyway, but hey, out it goes. Ashe and Echo. Ashe and Echo both weren't played that much. I think Ashe was played more in the East, if I'm remembering correctly. They played a little bit of like Mercy Ashe. Instead of playing like the Zen Brig, they played like Mercy Ashe and bits and pieces with the double shield from time to time. Same thing with Echo. Echo was played a bit, mainly to counter the Pharah. We saw bits and pieces of Pharah in these Wrecking Ball comps, but for the most part, neither of those is really going to change a whole lot. So let's look at the compositions, because the general sentiment going around right now is that, oh my god, everyone's just going to play the Shanghai Dragons comp, and we saw that so much in the Summer Showdown. No, we didn't. We didn't. People did not use that much Wrecking Ball in the Summer Showdown. Here is the league usage from the Summer Showdown playoffs and qualifiers. We only saw 27% Wrecking Ball. That is nothing in comparison to like... That's like equivalent to our Reinhardt, our Winstons. We actually had a pretty diverse meta last tournament, but people just think that this is the meta that was played all through the Summer Showdown because that's how the Shanghai Dragons won. But not many teams actually adopted the Wrecking Ball style. So we're going to look at that. The Shanghai Dragons throughout the entire tournament of the Summer Showdown played 70%... Hello? It played 70% Wrecking Ball. They played 53% Zenyatta, so they were the team that played it the most, but even then they didn't just one-trick it. They played some Orisa from time to time. They even played some Winston, Ana, Brig, sort of both of those dive styles. They didn't really play much else other than that. They were very dive-heavy and not bunker, and you can see that by just seeing Flatter played 64% Tracer, Lip played 67% Tracer. So that is Shanghai Dragons composition, and I think what you see, this player usage that you see right here, is what I expect to be played in the Countdown Cup. The Wrecking Ball Zen or the Winston Ana. The DPS and everything else doesn't really change too much around that, but it's going to be a dive. The only way that I see that not being effective is if we go over and look at the Atlanta Reign comp. But there is a caveat to this, right? So the Atlanta Reign, what they played throughout the Summer Showdown in both tournaments, they played Iris, didn't play anything else other than Baptiste, and that's eye-opening, because that sort of highlights exactly what the Atlanta Reign did. They played Brawl with the Baptiste, with the Symmetra, or they played the double shield with like the Brig. And you can see that Massar played 56% Lucio, 32% Brig, and they played that thing, and Gator just playing Orisa and Ryan. So they played very slow or Brawl style, relying on their shields, which is what we know from Atlanta Reign. That's not surprising at all for anyone of what happened. So that's going to be interesting to see. Is Atlanta Reign or other teams going to try and adopt this style, trying to counter the dive by playing the counter dive style? You don't have Sigma in the pool. That is a big problem. You don't have Sigma, you don't have Ashe to really set up these counter dives. So is that going to be effective? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to work. It didn't even work in the Summer Showdown when Atlanta tried to play it against the Shanghai Dragons or against those style of comps. So I don't expect to see that, but it's an option. And I think there are some teams that can't effectively dive. I don't think Atlanta Reign is one of them, But there are some teams where it's like, if we just try and play the dive mirror or we try and play this style, we're just not going to be successful. So this might be an option for them, but I don't expect too much. So everyone as well in this tournament is saying, oh, Dallas Fuel, the meta is going to not suit them. So let's have a look at what Dallas Fuel actually played in this tournament. So they played 50% Winston, 50% Reinhardt, essentially. They did play a lot of the Reinhardt brawls with the Symmetra teleporters. They actually made it work quite well. And you can see that with Sparkle at 32%. But they also were willing to play their patented Ana Winston dive with the Brig. I think there's a chance that Dallas Fuel will try and lean into that style. Try and play that Winston Ana. I don't think it is as good as the Wrecking Ball style from the Shanghai Dragons, but I think you can make it work. It's an uphill battle, but I think it's better for Dallas to try and embrace this Winston style than maybe try and force themselves onto the Winston Zen style that they might not be as good at. You know, the Wrecking Ball Zen style, sorry, which they might not be as good at. So I think stick to your guns and just run with that. Whether or not that will work, we don't know. Shanghai Dragons are obviously the clear favorites heading into this Countdown Cup because the meta hasn't changed for them and they look dominant. No one even looked close to the Dragons for the most part. Maybe Chengdu. We'll see. There's a couple of other teams that I did want to look at as well, as we're talking about the metas and like talking about teams that might be good in this meta. One of them is actually the Gladiators. I know Gladiators, calm down. Don't get your hopes up too much. But the Gladiators is actually a team that was playing to this kind of style and potentially could adopt it as well. So when we look at their what their hero usage was in the Summer Showdown, it's pretty consistent with what Dallas played. They played a lot of this Winston Ana dive with skewed on that Brig. They did play a little bit of the Reinhardt Lucio Symmetra from time to time, but they weren't dependent on that. They weren't reliant. They could easily have Birdring play that Sombra, Kevster on the Tracer, even Muse potentially could pick up the Wrecking Ball. It's a look we haven't seen much of in the Overwatch League from him, but if they can make that work, we know Shu has a great Zen. It could definitely be something that could give them that edge and that propel in the Western region where we think a lot of teams might struggle and might not be able to play this Wrecking Ball style as effectively as the East. So Gladiators stonks potentially on the rise. It's still Satiators-able, but, hey, they're looking quite good. And this is just a little fun one for the Philadelphia Fusion, talking about sad fans. Philadelphia Fusion fans, look at what the Philadelphia Fusion did in the Summer Showdown. They had almost a perfect quarter split between Wrecking Ball, Winston, Reinhardt, and Orisa, which is ill-advised to diversify the compositions and everything that you're playing that much. But just look at, they had 3 different people play significant time on the Tracer with Carpe, EQO, and Rascal picking it up. Funny Astro and Toby are going back and forth. It's not great, and I think we can attribute that to one of the woes of the Fusion. But it means that they they have talent on their roster. They do have a great roster. Everyone is finally there, I believe, except for maybe Poco. If they just lean into the Wrecking Ball comp, I think they can probably be really good at it. So I would love to see them go that way. You can put Alarm on that Zen. You got Toby on the Brig potentially. I think they can make the Tracer Sombra work. As I said, a lot of them can play those compositions. It could be more up their alley if they just stick to that and not really having to diversify yourself as much as this. So I thought that was an interesting thing to look at. But yeah, that is what the tournament structure, in my opinion, of the Countdown Cup is going to look at. That Wrecking Ball Zenyatta style is what I think will come out on top. But I also think, interestingly, this might be the first tournament we're going into where a set meta is expected to be good. I think the public sentiment, if you've been looking at not just Reddit or what the fans think, the players, what they've been tweeting out, what they've been saying, what they've been practicing on their streams, what they've been doing with all of that, points towards they're going to be playing these Wrecking Ball, maybe some more Pharah, maybe some of those looks, and we might see that from the West as well. So that's exciting, and it means that we're going in with an idea of what's going to be played, which is very different to what we've seen in some of these other metas where it's we're still working it out because there hasn't been a drastic patch change. There hasn't been something that's come in as well that's been well, this was played prior, but then this got patched, so maybe it's not as good, maybe we'll try this, all this kind of stuff. Looks like Wrecking Ball Zen is just going to be the king. So that's exciting. I am excited to see Shanghai Dragons and see if anyone can topple them because this is finally a good meta for the East. We've actually had very good metas for the West so far throughout this tournament. Shanghai Dragons have just overcome those odds. And I think they did that more than any other time in the June Joust when they beat the Dallas Fuel playing their Wrecking Ball comp. So as you can be upset at the Shanghai Dragons that they're just going to be able to one-trick their same comp that they've been doing for the last couple of stages. But in my opinion, someone else should play it. No one else has been playing it. Everyone's being like, Shanghai can't keep getting away with their Wrecking Ball comp. Well, no one else has tried to adopt it except for the Chengdu Hunters and maybe like the Spark. And if no one else is going to try it, then they deserve to keep going. So I want to see the West play the Wrecking Ball. I want to see them adopt. I want to see dive style. I'm sick of shields. I'm sick of all that crap. Let's play some dive. I'm excited for it. Even if it isn't the perfect dive that you don't like to see, I think it will be exciting. I'm going to leave on one more note though, because the Dark Horse team, in my opinion, coming out of the West is the Paris Eternal, because this is a team that had a great summer showdown, went really far, had great performances, but this is a good meta for them. They're one of the few teams that actually played the Wrecking Ball to a reasonable degree. They played it 24% in the West. Darn did, and they showed it. They made it work. They could play the Pharah. I think you put Sooner in on that Tracer or Onigod if you need him to sort of have that flexibility. I think it's conducive to all their styles and the way that they like to play the game. Can they play the Sombra highly effectively from Naga? We haven't seen a whole lot of it yet, but there's potential. So I'm excited to see if Paris Eternal can like break that mold, because they've been doing way better than any of us expected them to so far, but this could be one of their metas. So keep an eye on them heading forward into this tournament. But that's it. That's it for me. I hope you guys found this meta report interesting. I didn't want to talk about it for too long. I think it's quite fun. I think this is a good tournament style. I think we're going to see so many different styles from tournament to tournament, and I think this is a great one to end it on, especially going into the playoffs, going to a dive style, going into the playoffs, which probably means we will see dive later on. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think my Twitch chat is stupid? Do you guys think you're smarter in the YouTube chat? What do you think there's a different style, a different team that's going to be able to step up? Let me know in the comments. Much love. Thank you very much for watching. I will be doing a team power rankings report tomorrow. That'll probably be going up on Thursday. So make sure to check that out as well if you want to see what I think of all these individual teams. Say goodbye, Bo. Love you all. Peace out and see you guys next time.